Mariah Carey's life is not merely a story of fame, but a testament to endurance shaped by fracture, loss, and relentless resilience. Long before the spotlight embraced her, she was learning how to survive in silence, how to interpret tension before it erupted, and how to turn fear into something almost sacred. Her voice, which would later echo across generations, did not emerge from comfort but from necessity. It became her shield, her refuge, and eventually her offering to the world. Songs like Vision of Love, Hero, and All I Want for Christmas Is You Are More Than hits. They are emotional landmarks that carry pieces of her journey. Beneath the brilliance lies a woman who has repeatedly rebuilt herself from the ground up. Her story reveals not perfection, but persistence, how pain can be reshaped into power, and how even the most luminous voices are often forged in darkness. Childhood in a world that refused belonging. Born on March 27, 1969, in Huntington, New York, Mariah entered a world already divided against her family. As the daughter of an interracial couple during a time of heightened prejudice, she grew up in an environment where belonging was never guaranteed. Her mother, Patricia, carried the discipline and elegance of an opera singer, while her father, Alfred, embodied quiet strength and determination. Yet their love faced constant hostility from the outside world. Neighbors distanced themselves, and subtle exclusion often turned into open cruelty. For a young child, these tensions were not abstract, they were deeply felt, shaping how she viewed safety and connection. She learned early how to read rooms, how to anticipate discomfort before it fully surfaced. This constant emotional vigilance became part of her identity. It also planted the earliest seeds of her artistry, as she began to internalize feelings that words alone could not yet express. A home defined by instability and quiet fear, Mariah's early years were marked by instability that extended beyond social rejection into the very structure of her home life. Financial struggles kept the family in a constant state of transition, moving from one cramped apartment to another, never settling long enough to feel secure. Nights were often filled with tension, arguments, and uncertainty. Sometimes there was no heat, and simple comforts were luxuries rather than expectations. Her mother worked tirelessly, balancing teaching and performing just to maintain survival. Amid this instability, Mariah absorbed everything: the fear, the exhaustion, the fragile hope that tomorrow might be easier. When her parents separated while she was still very young, the emotional fracture deepened. Her father's absence became a quiet echo that followed her into adulthood. These early experiences did not just shape her personality. They defined her relationship with the world, where safety always felt temporary and love often came with conditions. Music as sanctuary in a fragmented world in the midst of instability, music became the one constant Mariah could depend on. Her mother's piano, though aging and imperfect, offered something the outside world could not: consistency and expression without judgment. As a child, she would mimic the operatic techniques she heard, not as a performance, but as a form of emotional regulation. Singing allowed her to release what she could not articulate. It was in those quiet, often cold rooms that her voice began to take shape, guided more by feeling than formal intention. Music became her sanctuary, a place where she could exist fully without fear of rejection. While other children searched for belonging among peers, Mariah found it within melodies and harmonies. This deep, almost spiritual connection to music would later define her artistry. It was never just about sound, it was about survival, about creating a space where she could breathe freely. A relentless pursuit through New York's harsh reality. As a teenager stepping into adulthood, Mariah carried her dreams into New York City, a place as unforgiving as it was full of possibility. With little more than determination and a few demo tapes, she entered an environment that demanded resilience at every turn. She worked multiple jobs, often underpaid and overlooked, just to sustain herself. Her living conditions reflected her struggle, small, cold spaces that offered little comfort after long days of rejection. Auditions came and went, each one testing her belief in herself. There were moments when exhaustion threatened to overpower her ambition, when giving up seemed like the only logical choice. Yet she persisted, fueled by a quiet conviction that her voice mattered, even if no one else recognized it yet. Those years were not glamorous. They were defined by endurance, sacrifice, and an unwavering commitment to a dream that felt both distant and necessary. The moment the world finally listened, the turning point in Mariah's life came not through spectacle, but through recognition. When her demo tape reached the hands of a music executive who truly listened, everything shifted. For the first time, her voice was not background noise. It was the center of attention. Recording Vision of Love marked a profound transformation, not just professionally, but emotionally. It validated years of struggle and quiet perseverance. When the song climbed to the top of the charts, it was more than a commercial success. It was proof that her experiences had meaning beyond her own survival. The world responded to the authenticity embedded in her sound. Listeners connected not just with her vocal ability, but with the emotion behind it. This breakthrough was not an overnight miracle. It was the culmination of years spent building strength in silence, preparing for a moment that would redefine her life forever. Fame, pressure, and the cost of visibility with success came a new set of challenges that were no less demanding than her earlier struggles. Fame amplified everything: expectations, scrutiny, and the pressure to maintain perfection. Mariah quickly became a global icon, but the demands of that status began to erode her sense of self. Every performance carried weight, every appearance required composure, and every misstep risked public judgment. The industry's obsession with image often clashed with her need for authenticity. Behind the scenes, exhaustion accumulated, and the line between personal identity and public persona blurred. The very voice that brought her recognition also became a source of pressure, as she was expected to continuously surpass her own achievements. This period revealed the hidden cost of visibility, the emotional toll of being constantly seen yet not always understood. It was a paradox that would follow her throughout her career. Love, loss, and the complexity of family. Mariah's personal life was marked by relationships that were often as intense as they were fragile. Her marriages brought moments of connection, but ultimately ended in separation, reinforcing patterns of emotional complexity she had known since childhood. Her relationship with her father remained distant, shaped by years of separation and unspoken emotions. When he passed away, it left her grappling with unresolved feelings that could no longer find closure. Later, the loss of both her mother and sister within a short span of time created a profound emotional rupture. These were not just losses, they were the closing of chapters that defined her identity. Each relationship carried its own history of love, pain, and incompleteness. Through it all, Mariah continued to process these experiences the way she always had, through music, transforming deeply personal grief into something universally understood. The silent battle within her mind behind the external narrative of success and loss was an internal struggle that remained hidden for years. Mariah's experience with bipolar Roman II disorder introduced a different kind of challenge, one that could not be seen but deeply affected her daily life. The extremes of energy and depression created an unpredictable rhythm that made stability difficult to maintain. For a long time, she chose silence, fearing the stigma associated with mental health in an industry that demanded perfection. Managing her condition required constant adjustment, from medication to therapy to self-awareness. It was not a linear journey, but a continuous process of learning and adapting. When she eventually spoke publicly about her diagnosis, it marked a significant shift, not just for her, but for others who saw their own struggles reflected in hers. It was an act of vulnerability that redefined strength. Rebuilding identity beyond the spotlight as time passed, Mariah began to redefine success on her own terms. No longer driven solely by external validation, she focused on creating a life that prioritized emotional well-being and authenticity. Her role as a mother added a new dimension to her identity, grounding her in ways that fame never could. She became more selective in her work, choosing projects that aligned with her values rather than expectations. This shift allowed her to reconnect with herself beyond the public image. It was not about retreating from the spotlight entirely, but about engaging with it differently. She learned to set boundaries, to protect her energy, and to embrace a quieter form of fulfillment. This phase of her life reflects a deeper understanding of balance, how to exist in the world without losing oneself to it. Giving back through purpose and compassion beyond her personal journey, Mariah has consistently used her platform to support others, particularly underserved communities. Her philanthropic efforts reflect a deep awareness of the struggles she once faced. Initiatives focused on education, youth empowerment, and hunger relief demonstrate her commitment to creating opportunities for those who need them most. These efforts are not performative. They are rooted in empathy and lived experience. She understands the importance of access, of having someone believe in your potential when circumstances suggest otherwise. Through her contributions, she has extended her impact beyond music, shaping lives in meaningful ways. This aspect of her legacy often receives less attention, yet it speaks volumes about her character. It reveals a desire not just to succeed, but to uplift others along the way. A legacy defined by endurance and truth. Mariah Carey's story ultimately transcends the boundaries of music and celebrity. It is a narrative of endurance, shaped by adversity and sustained by creativity. Her legacy is not defined solely by her achievements, but by her refusal to surrender to the forces that sought to diminish her. She has navigated loss, mental health challenges, and the complexities of fame while continuing to evolve as both an artist and a person. What remains most striking is her ability to transform pain into something meaningful, to create beauty from experiences that might have otherwise broken her. Her journey serves as a reminder that strength is not the absence of struggle, but the ability to move through it with intention. In the end, her voice is more than sound. It is a testament to survival, resilience, and the enduring power of truth.